So, a question that we get frequently and have been getting even more frequently in 2020 is, where can I recycle my glass? And as many of you know, glass recycling in Oklahoma has become quite a challenge. Today, we've invited some experts to share their experiences about glass recycling programs. And Okra board member and executive director of Keep McAllister Beautiful will be moderating this panel today. So Megan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm very excited to hear about the glass recycling in Oklahoma, how that can be done, and what we can learn new today. We're going to, I'll remind you, we'll have a few questions coming up. Those are fun, so look forward to some polling questions in this hour that we talk about glass. And we're going to start off our time with Scott DeFife from Glass Packaging Institute. Scott, how are you this morning?
Doing well. Thank you very much, Meg.
Well, I turn this over to you with one more thing to everybody. We will take some questions after each speaker. And then again at the end if we need to, if you have a later question, but please put your questions in chat so we can hear the presenters take care of their business and tell us everything they have to tell us. So Scott, go right ahead.
All right, thanks. Let me share my screen here. And great. So good to be with you. I'm Scott DeFife. I'm the president of the Glass Packaging Institute. GPI is the trade association for the nation's container manufacturers. And Oklahoma, we're very happy to be in Oklahoma, and I'm going to give you an overview of the industry, some of the challenges and what we see, and some of the opportunities, because I think the opportunities are great in Oklahoma. And you're going to see that there's end markets near you, and I'm going to give you kind of an overall lay of the land across the country, and then some ideas that we've seen from different regions. And then hopefully in the Q&A after some of the other speakers, we can get into answering some questions and solving some problems. I like the tenacious, resilient, problem-solving group. Those are my people. So let me move forward here. I think one of the things I wanted to start off with is you may have heard about a couple other organizations, and I wanted to lay out how they relate to each other. And how we work together. So GPI, Glass Packaging Institute, that's my day job, the trade association for the container manufacturers, but also the supply chain that feeds into making glass bottles and jars. And that includes not just the raw materials and the packaging and the labeling and the caps and the closures and the equipment to make the bottles and things of that nature, but it also includes recycled glass processors. So if you're in the recycled glass business, you can be in GPI, and I know there's at least one of our members is going to speak later, and we can talk about how that works as well, and I can answer any questions about GPI. Also is the Glass Recycling Coalition. By serving as the president of GPI, I'm on the leadership committee for the Glass Recycling Coalition. That's glassrecycles.org. The GRC is multi-industry group, so it's not just container manufacturers, but the insulation, fiberglass insulation, road aggregate, anyone who uses recycled glass in their business or manufacturing process, including some brands, breweries, beer companies, spirits companies, folks that are interested in using glass or use a lot of glass in their product packaging. And that's GRC, glassrecycles.org. Mostly it is an informational and educational organization, looking at the hot spots and what we can do to affect change, but also created a program that I think you're going to be very interested in, a MRF certificate, a glass certification program for MRFs. And I'm going to give you a map here in a minute that's going to show you where some MRFs are going through a glass certification program. There are international standards for what should be coming out of the MRF, okay? And we're going to talk about quality a lot, because quality makes a big difference as to the value of your end market. But GRC created this program using ISRI standards for MRF certification, and MRFs are going through it right now and starting to get certified for the product that's coming out. And that's something that GRC does. Lastly, the GRC a year ago started up a 501c3 called the Glass Recycling Foundation. What had happened was like 4 or 5 years ago, the GPI proper had made some grants to local communities, mostly in North Carolina, to start off with for equipment to help the communities continue to recycle glass. That got shifted over to the GRC when the GRC was created. And then among those discussions, they felt like it was the best opportunity to do that if they switched that role to a 501c3. So you have the GRF, the Glass Recycling Foundation. I also became the chair of the board for the GRF this year. So those are the three umbrella organizations. We work together, we do different things, but I wanted to lay those things out for you. So if you had any questions about what was one or the other. Here's a current glass infrastructure in the United States. And as you can, and I'm gonna zoom in on Oklahoma here in a minute, but to give you some perspective, glass, at least from the container manufacturing side, is a domestic manufacturing product. We have 45 glass production plants, container production plants in the United States. You can see that they are clustered in areas where they are near their end markets, which is mostly food and beverage manufacturing. Although I would say 92% of glass containers end up with food or beverage. The rest is pharmaceutical and cosmetic, largely. Slightly different from dishware, Pyrex, cookware, things of that nature, or scientific glass, different also, test tubes, medical vials and things, very similarly related and close cousins. There's a little bit of scientific DNA difference between one glass and the other glass, and that's why they don't mix in the recycling stream, but we can get into that in the Q&A as well. As you can see, there is a cluster of glass manufacturers and other glass infrastructure processors and fiberglass plants spread throughout the United States. And our red stars here, which I had mentioned, the GRC certified MRFs, are popping up. We just started this program last year, and so we've got 5, 7, 9 right now. Ohio, Rumpke MRFs, the Sims MRFs in the New Jersey, New York area, Balcones in Austin, and Sedona in Arizona. But we've got another 8 to 10 in the pipeline that are being reviewed right now. So let's zoom in on the South Central region, Oklahoma. And one of the things that I think is important for everybody here to know is you've got really strong end markets in Oklahoma. There are 3 glass manufacturing plants in Oklahoma. In fact, you've got more glass manufacturing plants in Oklahoma than you do in Texas, than you do in Missouri, than you do in almost any other state except for, I would say, California, Indiana, and maybe North Carolina, who all have 3 or 4, okay? So if you hear anybody say that, and I've heard it, and I've seen the media clips, that there are no end markets for glass in Oklahoma, that's just flat out not right. Now, where there is a problem is in processing the glass, the recycled glass, to get it to be furnace ready, which we then call cullet, right? So the recycled glass is just the return material. We really don't call it cullet until it is furnace ready and is meets spec, because in the glass container plant, the furnace is the heartbeat. And if you get the wrong kind of thing going on in the furnace, you could really severely impact the operations. And if they have to shut down, that's not good. So we don't want to shut down the furnaces. They're going 24/7. We got to be very careful about what goes in. But recycled glass nationally makes up about 1/3 of the 1/3 of all of the content in the bottles that are being made in the United States and North America today. Okay. Now I've put up this map of Europe and another chart from the Container Recycling Institute, not because I think we should be Europe or we can do things the same as there, but I wanted to show you what's possible. Okay. In the United States, we're recovering about 33% on average across the United States, 33 to 35% recovery. And as I said, 1/3 of every bottle right now is recycled content. The industry wants to grow that up to about 50%. And in Europe, you can see right now they're averaging 70%. Now they have a completely different program. And since I heard that EPR is on the agenda later, you know, EPR in Europe, EPR in Canada produce really high volumes of recyclable material. It's a completely different system. In the biggest issue that we have from competition here in the United States for programs like this and recycling really is not another material, it is landfill. Landfill is the issue, but you can see if you can divert from the landfill and create a proper collection system, you can get 70, 80, 90% glass recovery rates going forward. Now in the United States, you can also see there's a snapshot here that you can see that it is possible, because in the deposit container states, the redemption states, closest to you might be Iowa, I'm guessing, right? Because we've got the West Coast, we got Michigan in the Northeast. Iowa and Michigan are the most centrally located in the Midwest. In the deposit return states, the recycling rate for glass bottles is 68, averaging 68%. Some of those states are getting up to 80. Some are closer to 60 or 65% recovery rates, but still triple, at least triple, if not quadruple, the rates that we see in the non-deposit container states. We think that there's actually about 2 times as much glass that is going straight to landfill than is actually collected in all of the deposit states. And the reason that this is really important is that 60% of the cullet, the glass that ends up back in a bottle, and containers is the #1 end market for recycled glass. Fiberglass is second. If there is twice as much going straight to landfill as what's going in the container deposit states, we can really achieve our goals, because 60% of that cullet that goes back into bottles is coming from those 10 deposit states. So with a little bit of work, we can do a lot better in the United States. And as you see, this is a flow chart from a couple of years ago from studies of non-redemption states, so non-container deposit states. And you can see 43% going straight to the landfill. When you add in the cover, landfill cover, or the material that gets sorted out largely from paper markets, you can get up to 66% of the glass from consumers that is purportedly being recycled is going straight to landfill, or making one pit stop before it goes to a landfill. So from curbside to MRF, either drop off, separated, to cullet processor, okay, now that's a key point that we're going to talk about in Oklahoma. Then you get to the end markets or the mineral replacement, right? And different quality of material ends up in different places. Different size, different quality of material ends up in different places. But in the non-deposit states, about the average that we're doing right now is about 13% of that is ending back up in a glass container. So it's entirely possible, but in the single stream system, the recycling, the result is only as good as the facility that the material is going to. And at least half of the facilities that we are surveying right now don't have any glass equipment, or if they have anything, it's a devolumizer like a glass breaker or something like that, and not really doing much to clean up and process the glass. So what can we do about this? GPI, like I said, in the next decade, we want to go from about 1/3 recycled content to about 1/2 recycled content, which is an aggressive target, but we think we can get there. And we're studying ways to do that, and Oklahoma is on our radar screen. But alternative solutions, and you can see here a nice decorated Ripple drop-off facility that has led to some copycat operations going on in Northern Virginia, which is where I am living right now. But GPI is exploring regional public partnerships, a return to dual stream. Like I said, the single stream system really is only going to work if the facility that the material is going to is equipped to handle all of your recyclable materials. If not, then we need a modified single stream or dual stream to collect that glass. Additionally, we're losing a lot of glass from commercial and on-premise programs. I mean, great glass in casinos, in bars, and restaurants. Now, with COVID, we've been a little hampered this year, but there's a lot of good material there. Multifamily is another place where we're losing a lot of glass straight to landfill. So we want to increase end market opportunities, support expansion of aggregation sites. This is important from a transportation perspective because a lot of the value loss is not necessarily in the glass, but it's in transporting the glass from point A to point B. So we're studying freight, transload options, aggregation options, and really I want to put a shout out in there for drop-offs because those can work really well where MRFs don't work or won't work. And fortunately, there's an acceleration and an increase in drop-off programs. It may not yield as much as the curbside because we know we lose consumers every step away from the curb that they have to take. But it is, if the curbside is really resulting in virtually no glass recycling, or if the glass is only being put in the curbside bin but then ending up straight in the landfill because some other parts of the process are failing to produce good glass, then your drop-off glass is really a big step forward. And so I want to lay that out there as well. So this is, that's our overview. I'm going to end my share and turn it back to you.
Scott, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We have a question. There you go. Let me track this down in chat. It's why not go back to using more rail?
Yeah, so we're studying the rail option. In fact, I've been in dialogue with the Short Line Rail Trade Association. Rail wants high volume. Okay, so the big major national, transnational rail lines really don't want to talk to you unless you're moving, tons and tons of material, billions of tons, lots of material. So we have started dialogue with our short line freight rail, lines, associations, because we think they're very well suited to feed in. You can put a lot in one rail car. It can replace the truck, and for the areas, especially west of the Mississippi, where we need to travel longer distances, rail works. I can tell you 100% because I've seen it with my own eyes. There is cullet from Michigan making its way to Colorado by freight rail. So glass has markets. Good quality glass has markets, and it will travel a far distance at an economic rate. We just have to work a little bit to do it, and it may, require a little bit of ingenuity and some problem solving. But it's absolutely a great option for us, especially in your neck of the woods.
Nice, very nice. We may have another question. Let's see here from Frank. Did I get that right? Can I use? Taylor. Taylor wants to ask his question out loud. Okay,
Sure.
Go ahead.
So do you have any plans for increasing glass recycling at college campuses? Do you have any plans, any drop-off locations planned or anything?
Well, we work with local partners who need to provide the drop-off and the hauling and things of that nature, but we are working to develop some model programs that could be implemented. And I think a couple of our other speakers may have some ideas on exactly how to do those things in Oklahoma. But absolutely, college campuses, any collection of places where there's a lot of food service, bars and restaurants, is a great place to do a drop-off collection. You might call them milk runs or bottle runs if you want. There's a collection, there's a model there to take a truck around and pick up. I've been just a couple days ago, I was doing a similar webinar in Georgia where there's a great new service, and he's got a modified truck and he's got bins out and he just has a subscription service for pickup. So there are models out there, and we're working on some. On the GRC website, you'll see some case studies, and we're working on some more case studies. And absolutely, the university system is one that that could be a high yield.
Thank you, Scott. Folks, if you have more questions, feel free to put those in chat. But we have a poll question for you. If we can put that poll question up, the first one. Oh, Ellen, here it comes. Are you recycling glass now? Let's all answer that. And if any other questions while we get the answer on that one, we have
I see the question from Frank. If you want me to address the rural.
Yeah,
Yes,
can I ask part of it though?
Yeah.
In small rural communities in Oklahoma, and they don't have to be so small, but even medium sized. I mean, the real problem is, first of all, you don't have huge volumes, so you can't do your train thing, which I think would be great. But then you have the cost of, in Stillwater, Oklahoma, where we are, shipping it 70 miles to either Oklahoma City or Tulsa. And that involves cost, which makes this uneconomical. Is there any realistically, is there any way out of this without government intervention? And that's why Europe works, right?
Well, the European system, they start from a completely different, I mean, there are bottle banks, you know, on every street corner or every other street corner. So it's a very disaggregated system, and the glass is separated from at the very beginning, right? And so they start off from that system, or if they have an EPR, then there are lots of financial incentives that are going into the recovery. I would say if you talk about government intervention, there's different kinds of government intervention and different levels of government intervention. I would say that from our perspective, recycling is a public utility. It should be thought of as it's not just merely, you know, it's one of those things that's like a utility, water, wastewater, energy. There is a public role, or at least a quasi-public role, in the governance and the regulation of what's going on with waste management and recycling. So at a minimum standpoint, we think that, and we've been studying this as well, the problem for each rural community and the problem in the disaggregated system is the communities don't have the market power. As you said, you've got a small volume of a commodity on its own, if you had enough of it, would be economic to return. But what we have to do is aggregate that, or use a cooperative system where counties and communities can come together to pool their resources, and then they'll have enough that will make a difference. Or perhaps in negotiating your next waste management contracts, you could start to use a regional solid waste authority concept to do more of a regional approach to the contract, so that each community isn't kind of sitting there as a sitting duck getting picked off by, you know, a large waste management company who can control the pricing of the service, right? So when you have limited players and small populations versus a big player, you need to figure out how to pool together. If you want to deem that as government intervention, I think it's, you know, kind of cooperative in nature. That's why rural co-ops have been working, you know, in this country for a lot of time. And if it can be done in electric service, it can be done in recycling. The model is there to do that.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
We're going to take more questions here in just a little bit. Let's have the answer to our first polling question, if we can, as we get ready for our next speaker in this classification. The question was, are you recycling glass right now? 69% with the yes. All right, good to know. Up next, and Scott, do stick around. There may be more questions for you later. Josh Boyer with Ripple Glass. Josh, are you with us this morning?
Hi, yes, I am. Thanks for having me on here.
Take it away, Josh.
All right, let me try sharing the screen right now. Let's see. Okay, can everybody see that okay? There we go. Okay, perfect. And I just want to make sure, I'll ask Megan, is it the purple screen, right, that I have on? That's the big purple? Okay, because I got a dual stream going on right now. Okay.
You got a purple.
All right. Well, my name is Josh Boyer. I am the Regional Program Manager for Ripple Glass. We're located in Kansas City, Missouri. And I was going to talk to you a little bit about kind of what Scott started on about a separate drop-off system for glass and how we can kind of make that work and finding outlets in the state of Oklahoma. So I'll get started. So 93%, let's see. It's not switching. There we go. 93%. So that is a percentage of consumers that believe that they should recycle glass. And what that kind of means is consumers know that there's value in glass. Usually when people purchase it, it's especially if it's packaged in a glass container, that it's worth something nice. You know, it's an important event, something along those lines. And so people really do believe that they should be able to recycle it. And when it's not an option, they start asking questions. And I'm sure a lot of you municipal people and recycling centers have probably gotten calls in the past about this too. So I'm going to share a little bit of some numbers with you to kind of give you an idea on glass recycling. So a town of 12,000 on average could recycle 80 tons of glass per year. And what that means is that the city of Oklahoma City, with a population roughly around 655,000, means they could recycle about 4,125 tons of glass a year. That's a lot, and that's only if 20% of the population is recycling. So if you kicked that up to 30% or 40%, that's even more. So that's kind of just something for you to think about, is how much glass is actually out there and can be recycled. And keep in mind, this can also go straight to landfill tipping fees. Imagine how much money you could save avoiding the landfill with 4,125 tons of glass a year getting diverted from that. And it's cost savings and just getting that outside of the landfill, which is pretty impressive. So we currently work with the state of Oklahoma a little bit, and we work with Norman and Stillwater. And I reached out to my contacts there and asked them to just say a little something about Ripple Glass and, you know, how it's been going for them here. And I got a picture from the Stillwater bunker, so kind of giving you an idea of what a bunker looks like. And Chris Knight was kind enough to write a little quote, and he said, "Before being connected with Ripple Glass, the city of Stillwater was having issues with processing the program's glass. Ripple Glass saved the city's program. The representatives are easy to work with and do what they say, which is not that common these days." So I appreciate that, Chris. And that's something we really want to hit on, is how transparent we are as a company and how much we try to be easy to work with. So we understand that there's a lot going on at your facility, and we want to make it as smooth as possible because you're adding on more work with the glass recycling. We get that. So when you need a hauler there, we try to get there exactly on time when you need it, and we'll have you connected. I'll chat with you directly. We try to make it as smooth of a process as possible to make this a successful program and easy. So why recycle glass? There's multiple reasons why that it's actually very beneficial. It saves raw materials, lessens the demand for energy, cuts carbon dioxide emissions, no processing byproducts, and it creates jobs. So there's a lot of positives that come with recycling glass. And I mean, this whole list really shows it. And I'll mention that the lessens the demand for energy is something that Scott kind of touched on earlier with the furnace ready cullet. It actually can keep energy levels down at the furnace. So for a company like Owens Corning that we work with for fiberglass insulation, it actually saves them a lot of energy and money at the end of the day. So not all glass recycling is the same, and I'll give a little bit of percentages that come with this. So commingled glass, which is also known as single stream, about 40% of glass is landfilled directly from that. And then another 20% is downcycled, you know, to aggregates or abrasives. So really only maybe 40% of glass is actually recycled, which is a pretty staggering number. And then if you move over to separated glass, where you have paper and cardboard collected separately, and then plastics, metals, and glass in another bin, that's still over 10% of glass not being recycled and about 90% recycled. So much better, but still, you know, not a full turnaround. Now, if you move to more of a Ripple program where it's drop off and completely glass only collection, you can get 98% or more of glass being recycled and recovered, which is pretty impressive. So Scott touched on this a little bit earlier, and I was going to re-hit this because it's important for us as well. As you can see here on these two pictures, we've got clean glass and then you've got Murph glass. And we always ask people, can you really see the glass in this Murph picture? And that's the tough part, is when it's collected in single stream, a lot of times it is coming with everything like cardboard, paper, all of that works, and it's expected to pull that glass out in between the pieces and everything like that. And it's difficult to say the least. So we suggest this separate drop-off system where on this picture on the left, you can see it is all pure glass and clean glass, and that's where it has value. And we'd be willing to take it, and other people would be willing to take it when it's separated out. And the problem is contamination. So when the contamination is taken out of the glass, that's where it holds value. So this is a big chart that we got from the Glass Recycling Coalition, but I'll just hit on a couple little points here. So the single stream carts biweekly, as you can see the second row down, about 42% of glass is recovered. So again, below 50%. And then with the drop off, which is what Ripple Glass's program does, is about 92% on average recovery rate. And then if you even go further to the right here, the actual glass recovered, so even if it's still single stream, you think you'd get a higher amount, only 80 tons on average are recycled. But with the drop-off program, 96 tons are recycled. So there's even more being recycled with less going to the landfill, and just something for you guys to think about. Okay, so collection methods and practices. Here's a picture of our old bin and a picture of our newer bin, and you can kind of tell the difference on our branding and just the way we do things now is a lot different. And the reason why we do this, again, I'm going to hit on why you buy glass, and the whole idea behind glass is it's a high class item. If it's packaged in glass, you know it's a little bit more important, it feels like, and consumers know that. And so we try to keep that cycle going for individuals in recycling it. And you can see this picture on the right. I mean, it kind of looks like a dumpster. And that causes issues with the contamination like we talked about earlier, where all of a sudden it has no value anymore. And so we've created this branding of purple and these decals, and just very aesthetically pleasing for consumers to know that this is glass recycling and it's important. And Scott touched on it earlier, but actually over in Virginia, they started picking up a similar program by using purple as their glass drop-off site. So that was pretty cool to see over there. And I think it's been a quite successful program. And now people know that purple is glass recycling. So I'm glad that it's catching steam and moving forward. So types of glass that can be accepted. And this is important for everybody to kind of get the details on this, but glass food and beverage containers, of course, we can take that. We can actually take all colors that are mixed. We're able to do that at our plant. And we have an optical sorter that can separate it out. So that makes people's lives a lot easier, that they don't have to separate the colors. Glassware such as wine or pint glass, and then plate glass when it's pre-approved by me at Ripple. And so we just have to make sure that it's acceptable in our plant. And that'll move me to the not accepted items, which would be windshields, which is basically laminated glass. And that's where it has that plastic lining in the middle. So if it's pretty much indestructible, you know, and hard to break, then we can't take that because it's not all pure glass. No ceramic, porcelain, or milk glass, no boxes or bags, and no laminated glass, like I said, and mirrors. And here's a little visual that we've added here, and we actually got this from Maureen Turner, or got the idea from Maureen Turner, because she's done a great job with setting graphics and just helping push education. So we've actually taken a lot from her. She's came to our summit a few years ago, and we learned a lot. And just giving these visuals out to the public has been super important for them to actually see what it looks like that they can and cannot accept. So we wanted to say thank you to Maureen for the help that we've gotten here, and it's really helped lower contamination. Okay, so a little bit about how the program runs. As you can see, there's one of our roll-off bins, and basically when it's full, the private hauler would come, bring it back to the bunker, which is our main centralized location where we would come pick it up. So this would be all local, run by your local department, and they would pour the glass in the back of this bunker. And as you can see, there's all shapes and sizes with the size here. So when people ask about dimensions, as long as it can fit 25 tons, because that's what makes it justifiable for us to haul it, because our goal is to cover the entire haul cost for you guys. So we would actually send a hauler down from Kansas City to pick up anywhere in Oklahoma and then bring it back to our plant with no cost from the city or the recycling center or anything like that. And the key is having that proper tonnage that could justify it for us to haul it and make it that fair relationship where we can afford those hauls. So as you can see here, this is how the bunker is laid out, different sizes, and it's simple as scooping it up. And I'll click to the next slide for you guys to see. There we go. Scoop up from the bunker with a front end loader, really whatever you have available, and pour it in the back of an open top trailer. And it's really as easy as that. We just need the 25 tons. We'll set up that hauler, be as flexible and easy to work with for you. And so if you need it at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, we'll be there at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. And because we get it that some of you don't have front end loaders available immediately, so you have to go borrow it from the neighbor or from the landfill or something like that, and we understand. So anyways, there's also another option with rotating forklifts. Some people don't have the ability to have a bunker, and we get that. So you can store your glass in Gaylords or in IBC totes and use a rotating forklift to pour it in the back. And my point is we try to be as flexible as possible with your program. As long as you can store that glass, we can make it happen. And so what does it turn into? Owens Corning is probably our main end user that we send our glass, and they make fiberglass insulation that Scott was touching on earlier. And we turn that into furnace ready cullet, so you can kind of see it pouring out here, and that's furnace ready cullet. And they use that for insulation. And then we also send to Ardagh, which is a bottle manufacturer down in Oklahoma. And we use the amber glass there to send to them, and then they create bottles and actually send it back to Boulevard Brewing Company, which is located here in Kansas City. They actually were our founders, and we're independent of them now, but Boulevard Brewing Company started Ripple Glass. So it kind of comes full circle. And a little bit about how Ripple can give back. So we have a Go Purple program, and what that is, we can actually offer a $1,500 check to someone who needs branding for their bins. So let's say they really like the idea of the Ripple program and they want to get started. So we'll actually offer $1,500 after you fill out an application for that purple and the branding and the lettering, all the pretty stuff that you saw earlier. We'd be able to help out with that because we realize how important it is. We also have a program of the year where we can donate insulation to the program that did the best that year, and just try to help them out and give them a little bit of pat on the back, I guess, for doing a great job for the year. Also, we have annual incentive bonuses. So after 2 years working with Ripple, if you increase your glass recycling percentage by, I believe it's 5, 10, and 20%, it goes up. We'll actually offer a small rebate just for saying thank you for improving your program and doing a better job, and pushing that out in the community, because we realize that takes a lot of work. So we want to reward you for that. And I'll end with the picture and the quote from Brett Scoville over in Norman. And he said, "The city of Norman ran out of options when our MRF quit accepting glass. Ripple came through for us in a big way. Not only did they accept our glass, we are able to move it into significantly lower cost. We consider it a partnership and see it as a viable and permanent solution to our glass recycling demand. We are very pleased with the process, and the service is excellent." So I appreciate that, Brett. We've been working with Stillwater and Norman for a number of years now. It's been a great relationship. They actually both have outstanding programs. Luckily got to meet Brett at the SWANA conference last year, so it was outstanding. And they have a great program. So I want to say thank you. And again, we try to do our best to make it easy and as best of a relationship as we can for you.
Josh, thank you so much. Are you about to? I'm sorry.
Yep, nope. I'm pretty much, there's my contact information, and there it is. Thank you.
That is wonderful information. Thank you so much. While we take, know that we're going to have some question and answer coming up here in a moment, but let's take our polling question. And Josh, please don't go away, because I know people will have some questions for you.
All right.
There it is. Do you want to start recycling glass? Well, I'll answer that. We have two more speakers in this program, in this beginning panel session. And so next, as we all answer on that one, we'll have Terry Craighead. And Craighead, in just a moment, just wanted to see there was a lot of good talking going on in the chat area. We appreciate that. And we'll keep up with the information. Any questions that you have, just hold those if you wouldn't mind for later. We're just going to wait till we get enough moments in to hear the answer on our poll question. And then we'll go to Terry from Fertile Ground. And next would be Graham Brannon from the Met of Tulsa. So Terry Craighead, get ready. Yeah. Do you want to start recycling glass? 95%. Now that one's, yeah, like that one an awful lot. There was a quick question we wanted to see there. Will the slides from the speakers be available later? Ellen, I'm going to leave that to you. We have the slides for later? Yes, she says we do indeed. All right. Terry Craighead from Fertile Ground. Terry, are you with us this morning?
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me?
I'm turning it over to you.
All right. All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Terry Craighead, and I am with Fertile Ground Cooperative, located in Oklahoma City. Fertile Ground started in 2011 and really was kind of birthed out of a community garden project, urban farm project called Commonwealth Urban Farms. I at the time was a part-time stay-at-home dad and part of a babysitting cooperative, looking for something to do on my day off when I wasn't watching 4 or 5 little ones. And I got plugged in with some neighbors who were doing a community garden in the Paseo neighborhood in Oklahoma City. And I got thrown into the world of composting through the world of gardening, because we were trying to create spaces, trying to create good soil, healthy soil to grow food in urban areas. And I got to go visit some folks in Wisconsin called Growing Power, and we saw their model and launched Commonwealth. Got interested in composting with Commonwealth. We were composting food waste produced from Whole Foods that had just opened. And then my eyes were just open to like the problem of food waste. We had one grocery store and they had, 4 or 5 pallets per day of wasted food. I mean, half of it was good food. So we organized volunteers to separate the food. We would separate the bad food from the good food. The volunteers would get to take the good food home. But that just opened my eyes to just this problem of, we have this resource like food and the waste of the food that we're sending to the landfill, causing these problems. We're filling up our landfills. We're creating all this just toxic greenhouse gas and methane. And we can be creating, a product, creating jobs, reducing greenhouse gases, and connecting people. So I just was like, hey, you guys that are helping with this project, there's a couple of friends. I was like, you guys want to start a business? Let's just go around and see, some restaurants and local businesses want to compost with us. And it didn't take long before the restaurants that we were reaching out to were like, yeah, we'd like to compost, but we're not even recycling. Could you guys offer recycling? And we were just like, gosh, sure. We didn't know what we were doing. We're trying to solve a problem. There was a local drop-off glass processor at the time called Green Star. And we figured out, hey, yeah, we can just drive by and pick up the recycling. We'll drop it off at Green Star. And we didn't have like a solid business plan at the time in 2011, 2012. And quickly realized that was going to be a difficult way to make it work. Doing it the way that we had originally planned on. But so over the years, we focused on services that were related to composting and recycling. And we've just kind of grown organically as needs have arisen. the very first things we did were commercial composting and recycling. Then we added residential compost service. But now in 2016, we really stepped up our recycling effort. We purchased a truck and started buying containers, and we're really targeting small businesses and offices doing commingled recycling. Oklahoma City doesn't provide commercial recycling, and just tons of people didn't even know that there were options. A lot of people have issues with space. They can't fit, a big dumpster container at their site. The property manager won't pay for it. So we're like, hey, we can create a model and solve this problem. We'll just, we're charging people for the service. It's something people expect and, people want. So we can make this work. So yeah, in addition to the commercial service, we've done some multifamily recycling. We've got a couple of different ways we do that. And then we've also started partnering with the city of Nichols Hills, and we do their residential commingled recycling. We also provide zero landfill events where we help design and provide labor and bins to, let me just go full screen. To make events, whether it's a small wedding or a large, arts festival, zero landfill, we can help make that happen, whether that's setting up, a completely compostable event where, we work with the vendors to buy compost, or we try to recycle what we can, compost what we can, and landfill what we have to. We also produce products, compost filter socks, and this was an effort to try to expand compost products and build the composting industry in Oklahoma City and Oklahoma. And we have a partner in Ideal Homes that purchases the bulk of our compost filter socks for their construction sites. And then in January of 2020, we really were just kind of impressed with the need of glass recycling, the problem of glass recycling in Oklahoma. I think it was November or December of 2019. Several of the municipalities, due to all of the changes in which we're all aware of in the recycling industry, glass has been, just a loss leader. Difficult to recycle. It's dirty. It had to be shipped to Dallas area in order to be cleaned in the commingled system. And we were just like, there's got to be a way to do this. And we'd heard about Ripple Glass. We've been thinking about this since 2016 when we started doing commingled recycling. Our processor in Oklahoma City, Batliner, they were like, hey, yeah, you guys can do this. You can accept glass for now, but just know in the future, we may not be able to afford or be able to do glass recycling in the future. So, that put us of the mind to start figuring out a solution. So we heard about what Ripple Glass was doing in Kansas City, and we were just like, man, we just don't have a glass processor in Oklahoma City. And there's no way we're going to make that capital investment right now or anytime soon. So what can we do? And so I started making some phone calls, and I found the Delu Black group in Okmulgee, and they were willing to bring us a 30-yard container, we could essentially we could start doing our collection service. So we provide a curbside glass collection service to residents in Nichols Hills and in Norman. The city of Norman allowed us to do a curbside service because there's a lot of people that that want to recycle. Drop off is like a no-brainer. Like every town should have a glass drop off. There's multiple options and ways to get it done. And like Scott was saying, we have multiple glass processors in the state, recyclers in the state. It didn't make sense to me. Why are these facilities buying all their glass, paying to ship it from Iowa and Michigan and wherever? Like, we're filling up our landfills, and then we're all going to have to pay that cost when we have to, build new landfills. So let's just figure out how to recycle it. So we launched in April of 2020, the curbside collection and a drop-off center at our facility in downtown Oklahoma City. So we're open on Wednesdays and Saturdays for folks to come drop off their glass. Not nearly as convenient as the program that Ripple has with containers all over town. But looking at kind of the infrastructure that they built, there were multiple glass collection curbside services that Ripple has enabled to exist, who can bring them glass, and they charge customers. We charge $10 a month for a biweekly service. And we, right now, since April, we've got 50 folks in Norman, 50 in Nichols Hills, and then we've got a few other municipalities with folks. We have like 250 folks interested that want to start recycling glass in their town. So this is our little recycling truck. This is a side loader. So we operate our glass using this, and then we have another system that we use with a dump trailer. But essentially, this is not our glass bin. This is the our single stream commingled bin. But we can dump the glass right into the side of the side loader at each stop, and then just move on down the road. We bring it back to our facility in Oklahoma City. Oh yeah, this is an image. That's Dlubac, Mulgee. They're about 107 miles from us. And so we call them when we're, 2/3 full on our container, and they send somebody the next day or the day after that and swap out that container. This is inside our facility, and this was the last glass swap out we had. So yeah, we bring it right into our warehouse, dump it on the floor. We pick it up with our skid steer and load it into the glass bin. We call Dlubac. They come grab the glass, and we're feeling good about like being able to use the space that we have and the resources and the infrastructure we have for our other recycling and composting services to solve this problem of glass recycling in Oklahoma City. And I think, to me, the takeaway is, there are solutions. Like, this is something that's easily replicable, aggregating glass and getting it to processors. So that's a little bit about our story. And if anybody has any questions, about what we're doing, I'd be glad to answer.
Terry, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. If there are a couple questions while we get ready for another poll question, we're going to bring that up. Jessica had one. Is it free to drop off glass and other materials, paper, cardboard, aluminum, etc., at the Fertile Ground Drop-Off Center? Terry?
Yes. Yeah. Drop-off is free. And we're a social enterprise. Our mission, I forgot to say, is to improve and protect the social and natural environment in Oklahoma. And we do that through worker-owned jobs. And we do that by protecting the environment. So we're happy to have a free drop-off. We also sell things. We sell compost. And so the more community interaction we have, it's the more long-term benefit for us to be able to interact with the community and for folks to see us doing good things.
Absolutely. Thank you, Terry. Quick polling question. Jared, if you can put that in the last question up. Are you interested in glass lunch and learn at a minimal cost? If everybody will answer that one, I will begin introducing our next person. And Terry, if you could please hang on, we'll have a few more question and answers after we get done with all of this. Our final presenter today in this glass breakout, in the glass conversation, is Graham Brannon with the Met of Tulsa. They have 10 recycling centers in the Tulsa metropolitan area, and I'm certain she's going to tell us all about this. Graham, forgive me, he's going to tell us all about this. Graham, are you with us this morning?
I don't know. Can you hear me at all?
It's very light, but can everybody hear okay? Give me a nod or something like that. Not too well, Graham.
Not too well. Okay, up. Is that better?
No,
No.
that's not too well.
Oh boy. Well, I have to say, my Wi-Fi just died just now, and
That's getting better. Getting
oh, it's
better.
getting better. Okay.
Yes.
I
We can
apologize
live
so
with it.
much. Yeah, it's a crisis at the office. But anyway, anyway, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm not going to belabor it, especially for this reason too. But the Met has 10 drop-off recycling centers in the Tulsa metropolitan area, and we take glass at all of them. And 9 of those locations we separate by color, so that's clear and green and brown, and one center, which is kind of a high volume center in Broken Arrow, we mix our color and then have a clear roll off. So these are all in roll off containers. And what happens to our glass is we have a good relationship with National Waste, and National takes them our glass to their
Graham, I think it just knocked off again. It's a whisper that I could hear of you. If you want to wiggle that cord.
I'm sorry.
Not hearing you well at all there, Graham.
Okay. If you can look at what I wrote you, you can read that.
That's much better. I can hear you again.
Oh, you can? Okay. Okay, we'll try to get through this. We recycle about 80,000 pounds a month, and ours goes to National Waste, and National accumulates it, and then they haul it to Dlubac there in Okmulgee. And what's rare about us is we don't lose a whole lot of money, which is pretty unusual in the glass business. It comes out to where if you don't take into account our operations at our recycling centers, we actually come out slightly. So it's a pretty good story. We do a pretty good job, and obviously I'm open to other ideas. So that's really all I had. I'll let you go on, and maybe I can answer a question if you can hear me.
Graham, thank you so much. I'm going to repeat that last little bit because you had it in chat for me. The Met has 10 recycling centers in the Tulsa metropolitan area, collecting glass at all of them, and 9 of the centers have separate colors in the clear, brown, and green. The Broken Arrow location just separates color from clear. The Met recycles about 80,000 pounds per month and is collected at National Waste, that ends up at Dublock in Okmulgee. And we are a rare case where we don't lose money, not including cost of running our centers. Graham, thank you. I know you're working under a difficult technological problems today. I believe we do have a little bit of time. Graham, was there anything else you wanted to add this morning?
No, I think that covers it. So
he said no. I appreciate your efforts. I truly do. Let's see. There's the poll answers. We were interested in a glass lunch and learn at a minimal cost, and 76% said yes. I'm certain we will find out how to do that here in just a little bit. Now, we have time for some questions and answers of any of our panelists. Scott DeFife with Glass Packaging Institute, Josh Boyer, Ripple Glass, Terry Craighead, Fertile Ground, and Graham Brennan with the Met of Tulsa. So if anyone has any questions, put them in chat. I'm afraid I cannot see everybody at once. We have about 5 minutes for questions. So any last one? Thank you to all of our presenters while you work out your questions. Thanks to everybody. I really learned a lot myself and was interested in learning that. So I'll be passing on our information to the city of McAlester because we need to improve our glass work as we had to drop off collections this year. So it was very informative.
I had seen this is Scott. I had seen, and sorry, I've I've hit that time of the year where the sun comes straight through my my skylight there at different times of the day every day, and so I have to move around a little bit. I remember a question. I had written one down that there was a question about the economics of bottle bill states. And so I just thought I would answer that real quick while other people were putting in some other questions. You know, not every bottle bill state program is created equal, and they're not all the same. We tend to, when we are asked our opinion about bottle bill programs, we tend to recommend the Oregon model, more so than necessarily the California model. California does take some of the, not some, a decent portion of the escheats, the money from the non-redeemed deposits that enter the system, and they use it for some social programs, and they've got a really complicated way of divvying up the money and paying people who aren't even a part of the system. And so they're in the Cal Recycle management of the bottle bill program in California is under a lot of pressure. But Oregon, just to the north, does it really well. All of the money stays in the system. It goes to increasing the infrastructure for the recovery of the material, not just the glass, but the other materials as well. They expand opportunities for rural or even regional commercial drop-off centers so that the retailers can kind of assign their responsibility to take back the redemption material at a local, a very neighborhood redemption center that's built to take material back, because a lot of the retailers have opposition to being a place that people bring material back to. And it supports itself and reinvests in the system every year. And so then they can expand innovative collection activities. They've got a bag program going, and they've expanded to a refillable beer bottle program. And so the OBRC is kind of a co-op of all the people who would participate in it, and it works much better economically than the California program. And then there's a variety in between.
Quick question for Josh, forgive me. We have one last time for a question. Taylor was asking, Josh, I saw that you mentioned glass recycling produces 0 byproducts. How does that work?
Our program, or I guess our plant, and I'm not 100%, actually, I think our Lydia Gibson, who is also on our line, can answer that a little bit better inside our plant, but I do know that the way we process our glass when it comes through, that we actually have no waste that comes along with it. And again, with kind of glass being endlessly recyclable, where there is no byproducts that come out and have to go to the landfill, for instance, like plastic and paper that will have to get tossed out. It will have an end of life. The byproducts here and the end of life for glass is non-existent. So we have a process where we won't have to separate anything out to the landfill. And we also have, I know with like metal caps or something like that, with our bottles, we actually have a separate stream where if there's caps, because we can handle lids and stuff like that, we can separate that out. And we have an end user for metal as well. And that's kind of the idea that we're doing is now all the metal that's on top of the lids doesn't have to be thrown away. We actually have an end user for that as well. So we try to keep everything that comes through our process and our plant to be recycled, and nothing gets wasted, even the stuff outside of glass.
Josh, thank you. And we're going to have to close this. I tell you what, if you didn't get your question answered, or you have more, we invite you to take your questions to the Glass Breakout. If you didn't sign up for that session, you can email the speakers. We'll have all that information as well. So I believe I'm turning this back over to Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you, Megan, for keeping us on track, and to all the speakers, Scott, Josh, Terry, Graham. We really appreciate all of the information you shared with us today. And there are good things going on in Oklahoma related to glass. So I hope that was inspiring for some of you that maybe have been frustrated with glass recently. So thank you, everybody.